It's been 14 years since the brutal murder of Father Alfred Kunz. Tonight, for the first time, we go deeper than ever into the investigation with new details that could help catch a killer.
It is a cold case that has stumped investigators. Good evening, I'm Eric Franke.
And I'm Sarah Carlson. Thanks for joining us tonight. The renewed interest in the Father Kunz murder investigation that could finally bring a cold-blooded killer to justice. Only News 3's Marc Lovicott has this story.
And Eric, it is a tragic case. Shock turned into many questions in 1998. How could something like this happen in such a small town to a priest and in such a brutal way? Tonight, we learn investigators are as eager as ever to bring closure to this awful crime.
It's been 14 years.
It was a devastating tragedy.
We've never given up on the case. It was devastating to the community. This sort of crime just does not happen in the village of Dane.
March 4th, 1998, the unthinkable rocked the small community of Dane. Father Alfred Kunz, who called St. Michael's home for 31 years, was found murdered in this school hallway. His throat slashed. His killer has never been found.
People called in about burglaries, people called in about cults, people called in about Father having relationships with certain people. When I start looking at this case, there's just several different motives that could have been the cause of his death.
Detective Mary Butler has just taken over the nearly 14-year-old homicide case, the most expensive case in Dane County history. 41 binders contain years and years of reports with possible motives, questions, possible suspects. Detective Butler is bringing fresh eyes to the case.
So far, evidence has not pointed at one suspect.
Retiring Detective Linda Peterson-Honer is helping with the transition. She was on the scene the morning of the murder and has spent thousands of hours searching for answers.
There are thousands of people who have been interviewed all over the country. We have more than 11,000 pages of reports. It's hard to understand how much time has really gone into this case.
A decade and a half later, the work continues, but in a very big way. Only News 3 has learned new DNA evidence is being submitted to the state crime lab for analysis. Old evidence is also being re-examined with technology that didn't exist 14 years ago. Touch DNA is a part of that, invisible DNA that could exist on the surface of evidence. As the testing is underway, News 3 is also learning never-before-released details about the awful, brutal crime that took place.
The last time that we know Father to be alive was when he was on the phone at 10:23 p.m. on March 3rd. He's found at 7 a.m. on March 4th. We believe that the death occurred closer to the 10:30 time frame.
Also, for the first time, the Sheriff's Department has revealed there were signs of forced entry to the school, a door that appeared to have been forced open, but still, a burglary motive could never be confirmed.
I'm sure the Sheriff's Department would very much like to solve this case.
Monsignor Kevin Holmes was called to the hurting St. Michael's Parish 10 weeks after Father Kunz was murdered. He spent 4 years there, helping the community heal.
And certainly, for the sake of justice, it would be a wonderful thing for the diocese, for the clergy of our diocese, for the people of St. Michael's in Dane, too, for justice to be done in this case.
As time ticks by, he shares the same plea as detectives. A plea for information.
Justice ought to be done in this case.
The truth is in someone. Someone has to know something.
It's been 14 years. Father Kunz deserves justice. His family, the Catholic Church, deserves justice. I just feel strongly there has to be somebody out there that knows something.
And this is where you come in. The sheriff's office says they are looking for anyone with information, anyone to get in touch. That includes those who have already called in with tips over the last 10 years. Also, investigators believe the person who killed Father Kunz was noticeably injured, either with cuts or with bruising. And they have no reason to believe, they say, that the suspect is no longer in the area. With those tips and with this new DNA evidence, they really hope they can bring some closure to this case.
It's amazing how much more they can do, too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
Sure.
Well, and if you have any piece of information, big or small, please call the number on your screen. It is 608-284-6900. We will have that number again later in the show, and you can find it on channel3000.com.